second episode, and I'm really, really glad to have with me today Justin Berry. Hey, Justin, how are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm glad to be back in Stockholm, and it's good to be here.
We're happy to be that you are with us. I met you. I mean, I knew about you, but I met you 2 years ago because I looked for a club or a coach that can coach Jean between teams, and then you coached in Central in Östermalm here in Sweden, and but let's start from maybe chronologically. You are from Texas.
I'm a Texas guy, San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio.
Yeah.
So you know the Spurs.
No, I grew up a Mavericks fan, so that's pretty controversial. And now, after the Luka trade, I'm not a Mavs fan anymore.
Man.
So I don't have a team anymore. But yeah,
I didn't mean to speak about it, but you took me to this.
I'm still scarred.
What the F?
Yeah.
I mean.
But yeah, I'm from born in San Antonio and then raised in a few small towns outside the city, and then I've lived there every off season since I was 22. So.
You know, I've been to America, and I made a coast-to-coast trip.
Okay.
I was like 22 years old, I think, but I went also to San Antonio.
Oh, nice.
And I remember it a bit, and from there I went to Mexico, to Tijuana, for a short visit. How is it there?
That's nice. It's in the summer it's extremely hot, so you got to be ready for that. But great, nice people, really good food. I would say it's some of the better
like
food.
Mexican
barbecue, Texas barbecue around there is really, really good. And it's a cool place to go back to, and it's also much cheaper there than on the East Coast or the West Coast. So it's a nice kind of a nice place to be.
I see. So when did you start to play, Justin?
I mean, I started like most kids, like 5 or 6 years old, but just in the little local league. So in the town that I grew up in, it's maybe 4,000 people. So it's just maybe 4 or 5 teams of you and some kids you go to school with. And I didn't start being serious about basketball till I was 13 or 14. And so you play for your
fun.
Middle school is like 7th or 8th grade. That's usually most people's first experience playing for a school. So you play local league. Then when you become 12, 13, you try out for your 7th grade team. If you make it, then you play for that. And I was doing that, but I was doing every other sport. So I was only playing basketball during basketball season. And I think it was.
Did you have a sport that is more favorite for you, or
I grew up with American football being my favorite sport, and then basketball kind of surpassed.
So you
that.
played a bit.
I did
quarterback or
I
catched.
Yeah, and did track and field. Ran the hurdles, did the high jump. I guess in Europe, people just call it athletics, idrott, I think. And I liked that, but played soccer, played baseball. But those, whenever you get older, you have to start concentrating a little bit more if you want to be good. And so I cut out the other stuff, and then I think I was walking on the grass at a track and field at a track meet in between the events, and some guy came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, my dad wants to talk to you." And it's like, that's weird. It's a weird thing to say. And he said, no, he coaches a club team, and he wants to talk to you. And so I grew up in this little country town, and so my only reference for how you could play basketball was you play for your school. So I had no idea that you could play year round, really, and my parents weren't really aware of it. So in the city, there's a ton of club teams.
What do you mean? You could play like?
Yeah, so in the States, there's sports are included in education, so like the schools have teams.
Yeah, sure.
So in Europe, if sports is completely separate from school most of the time, and so if you go to this school, you have to choose which club you're going to play with. And so for us, you play for the school that you go to, but then when that season is finished, you have a club team. And so you have your school team and a club team, but they're completely separate.
I see.
And so I had no idea about club basketball at all and this guy had a team, was putting a team together, and they saw me. They saw a tall kid walking at a track meet and asked me if I wanted to play, and kind of went from there. So that progressed into playing year round and focusing on it in a serious way, and played for a few different club teams throughout the years. But yeah, I would say that event kind of started the push towards playing basketball exclusively and focusing on it more.
Everybody, in the first episode, I host Charles Barton, but we both know, and he told me that what I see is like it's interesting how things evolve, how people started. Sometimes it's you know what I mean? When you look back, you say it could go in a different way. So for you, it's this guy that saw you. For him, it was another guy that told him that pushed him to go to Europe and arranged him. And so it's so interesting for me.
Yeah. One small thing can lead your life in a completely different path. And so I don't know how things would have gone if I had waited even 1 or 2 more years to start focusing on it. I probably would not have been a college player. Probably would not have ever made a single dime from playing basketball. And so that little push of somebody identifying you as having potential and starting opening my parents' minds to that world.
I see.
It also me doing it had my younger sister also doing it, and so she's been a college player and stuff as well. And
so it's like feeding each other.
Exactly. So that year was a big year, I guess, for our family. It kind of pushed things definitely over the to the basketball edge.
So you play in school and then you went to college.
Yeah, right. I played at 3 different colleges.
Wow.
So
tell me which.
I was at.
I don't know everyone, but.
So I was at LSU at Shreveport in Louisiana. I did a year at a Division I junior college called Williston State in North Dakota, and then from there went to Newman University in Wichita, Kansas.
So it's a lot of transitions.
Yeah. So the first school was a university. So the idea normally, if you go to university, you stay there and you graduate from there for 4 years. But I transferred to a junior college. That's a 2-year school, and so the entire idea to attending a junior college for sports is that you go and play well and get recruited to to a 4-year level to a university. So the first school I didn't plan to leave there, but I did. The second school, that's the entire idea would be to leave, and then the third school is where my degree's from and all that. So
it was transition you made every year, or
the last school I had two years there, but so for the first 2 years were 2 different schools, and then third and fourth year was
Was it hard to move?
Yeah.
Depends on age. I guess
there may or may not have been some tears shed when I left the first place, because I think I was 19 and had kind of like a girlfriend at the time and enjoyed my teammates and liked being there, but I came to the realization that was not where I wanted to be basketball wise, and so that dream I guess even until now the basketball.
What do you mean is that you were not happy with the basketball there?
Yeah,
or your situation.
It's a good program. They win. I mean, they've been good for a long time. It was just I didn't see myself finishing there, and then academically as well. They didn't have I kind of made a sacrifice to study something that I didn't want to study because they didn't have the program that I would have chosen. And so after that, it was like, okay, if basketball situation is not what I want it to be, and the academic situation is not what I want it to be, then it's time to make a move. But I don't think that's why why I got jobs or why I was a college player. I think I was always like a matchup problem. So it's like if you put a bigger guy on me, I was usually a little bit faster and a little bit more athletic and can step out and shoot. And then if you put somebody my size or smaller,
you took him to the post.
Yeah, and when you play for a smaller school or for a smaller club, if you're at the time, in high school I was like 6'5", 6'6", and if you're one of the taller guys, you're going to have to play inside sometimes. And so I had all those inside instincts to use if you put a guard on me. So, but yeah, I think my calling card was just being kind of versatile, like Not a specialist as a shooter or a specialist as a defender, but being proficient in a lot of things and being able to do a lot of different things.
I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. When was it that you came to Europe at first?
That was, I guess, so right after I finished college, I had an opportunity to play in the UK. And
London or somewhere else?
I was in Leeds.
Leeds.
Yeah, so it was an interesting situation.
I know the football club.
Yeah,
Leeds United.
Wasn't a massive contract. I was coming from an NCAA Division II school, and they watched some film, looked at some stats. I had some film video chats and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it had come I had a British teammate. And I asked him, it was my last year. I think he still had a year or two left. But I asked him, I said, "Hey man, be real with me here. Like, am I good enough to play in the league where you're from?" He said, "Yeah." So he introduced me, to a guy that had coached him on the national team years before. That was the coach of this team. And so that's kind of where I got my start. Was in the UK. The year after that it's the closest. It was very close to ending my career. And not with an injury or anything. So I played in the UK, came home, and there's this league that pops up. It was called the ABL, so like American Basketball League. And it had some backing. I think Magic Johnson's agent was one of the main architects of it. And so their goal was to challenge the G League as a second league in America. Mm-hmm. And they were going to have a draft and all this stuff. And there were two teams in my region of Texas. And so I put my name in the hat, I guess you could say declared for their draft, and got picked in the second round. And what a nightmare that league was. Goodness. It's very poorly organized. I'll keep it polite and say that the coaching was not high level.
Yeah.
And so really talented league. Like a lot of, everybody was a former college player, extremely athletic league. There's a few guys that played in that league that touched the NBA after. But it was kind of just a nightmare. And so halfway through the season, two guys from I guess you could say the front office management of that league embezzled like $100,000 in payroll money. Oh. And so our checks stopped coming. Oh. And so at the beginning, it was really cool. Like I had a decent salary. Me and a few other guys had a house in my city. My parents could come to all my games. So it was a cool thing at first, and then it turned into kind of a nightmare. And so the league fell through. And once you're done with college, guys aren't going to play for free anymore. Yeah. And so it fell apart, and I was without a team for the last half of the season. And normally, if you're a professional, if you have a hole in your resume like that and it's not from an injury, that's a no-no. Like it's going to be really hard to get a job. And I was lucky and got picked up and signed with a team in Germany for the next season, and then was able to play I think 6 more years after that. So it was a close call. Like that could have ended everything.
You went to Germany. You played in Germany. In which town?
I was in. The first year was in a town called Vogtlingen, so it's really close to Saarbrücken. It's in Saarland, so the smallest German state, close to the French border. And played there. Played in another city in the same region called Hamburg.
Yeah, Hamburg, I know.
Well, this one with an O, not the A.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So,
it's different Hamburg.
Yeah, exactly. A little about 100 times smaller than the.
So how was it for you? You went to UK, you went back to the States, and you went to Germany. How was in Germany?
Germany's cool.
In terms of basketball, but social also.
Yeah, Germany was cool. I had no complaints really. Sometimes I think if I could take it back, I might have stayed there. Maybe it just made my path in Germany because I really enjoyed it there. I speak and understand some German, and or understand a lot, speak a little, but. The level is good. The money was pretty good.
Well, now we know, especially the last few years, what's up with the German basketball.
Yeah, it's
much. Of course, the World Championship, but I see a bit the league now because our one of our youth, I don't know if you know the name, Ben Saraf.
Yeah.
He goes to the draft now. He play in Ulm.
Yeah.
So you see how much he developed, and the coaches and Gordy Herbert and Thomas Iselo, that coach. I mean, it's a good.
Germany's great. Germany's great because it's a good mix of level and opportunity and money. And so, like for example, obviously Spain is one of the premier basketball countries in Europe and has been for a long time. But unless you play ACB there, there's not a lot of money there. And so, if you're fortunate enough to play Spanish top league, then you'll be rich. You'll make good money. But anything,
not everybody.
Yeah,
you make, of course.
Yeah, you can make a good living, but it's like everything below that, even for the imports, it's not great money. But in Germany, at least the time that I was,
you can play second league.
Well, you can play Pro A, Pro B. Even the regional leagues had imports and were able to pay apartments and a couple €1,000 a month, and so
that's good.
Yeah, their infrastructure is nice, and so then rather than stay there, I ironically went to Spain, and I wanted to get that on my resume, and so it was less money, and.
Where in Spain?
It was in two places. So I was in a city called La Roda, that's like in Castilla-La Mancha, so very central. And then finished for a club in Azuqueca de Henares. It's like, I guess, in between Madrid and Guadalajara. So pretty central. But they're off the court. I love Spain. I had a great time there. Met some great people. On the court, that's probably that was my least favorite year. But there's
Spain for us is San Antonio, but I'm Israeli. My wife is Turkish. We think sometimes to go to Spain, because it's a fun country. Okay, it's so much colors, and of course the sport, but
the lifestyle.
I really lifestyle. Tapas and everything.
You can find the old, you can see the old guys going out.
As a musician, I toured in Spain.
Okay.
Barcelona, Girona, Madrid, Jerez, Sevilla. So I saw. I mean, it's really fun. But I understand that in a specific situation, things can be so different.
Well, like the first experience was not good. I managed to find a club with that would pay you to play basketball and had 3 other Americans, but that nobody on the coaching staff or in the office spoke English.
Oh man!
So it was that situation was not ideal. And then when I switched teams, everything was great. I liked the coach. I liked the team. And right as soon as I started to get into a rhythm, I tore my Achilles. And so my last 2 months in Spain, I was in a cast and on crutches.
Yeah. And what age? What was it?
This was
more or less
2015. So I was probably 20, 25, 26.
Achilles is like what? 1 year, 8 months.
I got back from it in 6, but it was very close. And so I was able to play the next season in Iceland, and but it was it's not. I don't recommend tearing your Achilles. So it was not a great time for me.
Yeah, man. Is tough. And okay, so we met in Sweden. So apparently you went to Sweden.
Yeah,
I brought you to Sweden.
I did. So I did a year in Iceland, and then my first.
Where? Just a second. So San Antonio, 3 colleges.
3 colleges in 3 different states.
UK, Germany, Spain, Iceland.
Yeah. And
then
Sweden, and I got
Denmark. We'll speak about it.
Yeah, so I got my first exposure to Sweden and Swedish basketball at all was as a player. So I played in Superettan for Trelleborg down south, and I did that deal without an agent, and I can't even remember how we got in touch. I think I posted a video on some networking page, and the coach reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want you to film. Can you film this workout?" And so I had my best friend, film a workout that summer, sent it to him, and then they I guess it was good enough, and the film and stats and stuff from the previous year were good enough. So I signed with them, played there for that full season. I think they started the year with some injuries and stuff, 0-6, and so it was my mission was help us not move down, And,
Yeah.
And so my first day there, I didn't know any Swedish at all at that point, and somebody sends me a picture of the newspaper the morning after the first practice.
Now you know, because I'm 4 years, don't know Swedish yet.
I
tried, it didn't work for me. I don't know why.
It's not an easy one, but
I learned Turkish from the street. But I guess, or I'm getting older, or it's about, I'm a musician, I can learn from the sound, but you need motivation for it.
Well, and here there's not much motivation because everyone speaks English. So I think necessity drives, my second best language is Spanish, and it's because the quality of English in Spain is so low.
I really want to learn Spanish, right? Dilek, you want to learn Spanish too?
Yeah.
No, Dilek, we have to mention you. You're producing us.
Big part of this thing.
Yeah. My wife, Dilek. So,
but yeah,
Sweden, and then.
Well, I woke up and I see this newspaper article because the newspaper had come to our practice and taken some photos or whatever, and in Swedish it says like "Dalskareda Pirates," like they will save the pirates. So it's a picture of me and the other import that they brought in, said basically they will save the pirates, and it's like oh yeah, no pressure, man. And but yeah, so I played there,
and you saved them.
We didn't move down, so that was, I guess, mission accomplished. And then the second year I joined them middle of the season, and it went quite well. But yeah, now that's actually that's the home club of Bobby Klintman, his brother Ibe Klintman. Like they've had some really good youth players and now some professional guys. But yeah, and then kind of a Turkish connection. I had no connection with coaching in Sweden because of my playing career, but I was coaching a camp in Istanbul in Turkey.
So with the basketball embassy?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me, man, because I met your good friend Chris.
Yeah, you met Chris.
The next level, and Chris. Okay, never mind the story, but he's an amazing guy.
Yeah,
a really nice guy.
Shout out Chris, by the way.
Yeah, and. You work together in this basketball embassy?
Yeah, so Chris is
which is a kind of non-profit organization.
Yeah,
tell me.
Yeah, sure. So Chris, one of my best friends by now.
Okay, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah,
I'm coaching there. I'm not a coach.
Okay.
But because I coached in Hammarby, Joachim offered me, and it was really nice for me because I loved it and I enjoyed it. Chris came. And with Chris came a kind of friend, assistant, or someone that took videos and everything.
Yeah.
And he coached, I think the U16, U15 or something. But then he coached every team there. They gave them a taste from Chris. Also, my son was there, and he made within 1 hour with this group. And then he came and he said, "Listen, I want to give you a T-shirt of San Antonio Spurs." I said, cool. I was so proud. Why? Never mind. But then I took Chris by the hand and I said, "Can we make a walk?" And I told him, I asked him advices about my son and how he can improve. And I said, "Well, why did you give him? What do you think?" I mean, he said, "The first thing I noticed, forget about the physics, the talent, everything, is that he's enjoying basketball." And that was great for him. I mean, this small meeting with him was really inspiring for me also.
Chris is a great guy. He's now a college coach in our city in San Antonio. But
Which college?
Texas A&M San Antonio. So and he was previously at a private university called Our Lady of the Lake, and then got the A&M San Antonio job. But yeah, he's. Really good friend of mine, and we used to do a camp together in San Antonio with mostly international players. So it's like 100 kids from 12 different countries, coaches from 6 different countries, and many years ago, I guess somebody had told him that I was playing in Europe, and so I was walking around in a cast at that time after Spain, and he approached me and just said, "Hey man, I have this camp. Would you come speak?" And so I said, "Well, if you don't mind me limping around with an Achilles injury, sure." And then after that, I joined the team, so to speak. And so we do camps all over the world in partnership with the U.S. State Department. Some of that money may or may not be there anymore with the current administration, but it's basically
You know
sports.
what's the common thing to, well, politicians that are too much focused about their own power is that slowly they start to give less importance to the most important things, which is sports, culture,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. So we'll see if we get to have any more international projects. But we've done. They like to pair. It's sports diplomacy. So it's taking American coaches or leaders or sometimes even players and doing. We've done
all over the world. Like
yeah. I mean we've been to Tunisia. The latest one was in Zambia.
Wow.
There's been projects in Uzbekistan, Turkey, Romania. I've been to Kosovo 3 or 4 times. I never would have thought that. I've been to Ukraine.
So you went to travel.
Yeah, I've been to
you got the chance to see.
Yeah, Ukraine and Belarus, some places that now I probably can't go to, and so it's been a really cool thing, and that's all by chance because I met Chris and But yeah, we were doing a camp in Turkey, and he told me, there's a guy from Sweden that's a general manager of a club there. It's got 800 members or whatever. Maybe we'll work with them someday. He's going to come check out the camp, and that person is now my friend Victor Sundqvist. He was with Central Basket he was in Central for 14 years.
Central,
and so he
then you became coach in Central.
Yeah, he approached me and said, "Hey, I know you're still playing, but if you decide that you're done, this is what we can offer." And so it was a good enough offer. I was already kind of leaning towards transitioning. Getting into coaching and getting something on my CV other than just playing. And so that I felt like it was a good time. And so that, I ended up in Stockholm for 4 years. And
so that was the basketball embassy in Sweden. That was like the kind of beginning of your coaching career.
Yeah, I was coaching for I coached for a club team in San Antonio, that does it's when kids are finished playing for their school team, they want to get more games and develop and go to college. And so I was coaching for a club called Next Level Raiders, but that and some skills training, that was my specialty, was player development. But other than that, it was my first full time.
When I saw you work also with Joachim, the next level, and you made fundamental camp, a kind of
it's like mostly like offensive skills is what we partner to do. So he's got a really great camp series, like you mentioned, that you've been at the summer camp. But we do during all the Swedish school holidays, we have these camps where it's not even a full week. It's just 3 days. Come in and working technical stuff. So they play, but it's.
I know because I was there with you, and it was the first time I saw you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was the first time we met.
Play basketball in this country, live in Stockholm. And so there's the most clubs, the most competitive series are all in Stockholm. But I think the popularity of the game in Sweden has kind of, it's outgrown the infrastructure, if that makes sense. So not just with coaches, but also referees, also with the club structure. And it's not to say there aren't good ones. Like obviously there's good coaches here, there's good referees here.
But Justin, you had, when you worked with Central, you had a contract. It was a kind of professional agreement.
Yeah, I was working full time.
You're one of the maybe not many or few in Sweden in these ages.
Well, and I didn't have the perspective when I first got to Sweden. I didn't have anything to measure it against, so I didn't know. How fortunate I was to have that, and how rare of a situation that was. But it's like. I don't want to talk much about money, but it's like the salary was fine, it was good, and so I think even for like top league coaches, my situation at the time would have been appealing, and it was to coach youth, and but then when I had been here for a while, it's like okay, half these teams have parent coaches, which is great. I mean, but it's like if you think about it, in Swedish youth basketball, if you took away all the parent coaches,
there's no coaches.
It would be unsustainable.
There's no coaches.
Yeah, you would not be able to play, and so it all comes.
So from one side, need to appreciate it. From the other side, we say, why not in Sweden, that the country that has money, and that's why not pro? Why not go to pro? But
Well,
it's a mystery.
it is a cultural thing, though. I think
maybe there is evolved. Maybe something is changing. I don't know.
Well, youth sports. I think I became aware of the cultural difference when it comes to like what club fees are here. So like what if you pay a club, if you pay your dues, like for your kid to have a spot in a club in Sweden,
it's cheap. It's
extremely cheap. And so I'm thinking because the club I worked for, is in Vasastan, Östermalm, and it's like that's a region, that's a part of the city of Stockholm where it's understood that most all of the parents that you're dealing with have money.
Yeah.
And so it's not to say that their fees should be higher or whatever, but I have experience in knowing what their yearly dues are, and it's like they're paying what we would get for 2 months for a club in Texas, and that club is not the most expensive one.
Sure.
And so
I get it.
If
they don't get, or maybe they get very small funds from the government. Or
that's right. So it's seen. I think here it would be seen as kind of crude and kind of not okay to charge very much more for something that they see as a community activity.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's like okay, I hear that, but if you want to hire quality coaches, that costs money. And if you want to get past working off the good nature of volunteers, you're going to have to pay somebody. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the big, don't even want to say shortfalls. It's just that's one of the realities right now of
just when I came here and I had more motivation and I thought that maybe I can help and maybe I can coach. I had this idea and I said to myself, why I have to understand why there is clubs, there is Scania, Sodetelia Open, camps. There is everything. So what's up? And then I was saying, okay, what it needs to happen is that the important guys from the basketball scene will go all together to the Ministry of Sport in Sweden and say, give us money to make it pro.
Right.
I really care. Now I care less because I know it's some things I cannot change by myself. I can just dream about it. So that was a mystery for me. But how is it in Denmark, actually?
I've only been there, I guess, since September, but I've kind of noticed you do.
Some things are similar.
Some things are similar. There are some good. The bigger clubs from Copenhagen are extremely competitive.
Like Sisu and Falcon.
Sisu,
You mean
Falcon.
about the youth? Right?
Yeah. The youth level, and I would say the top league in Denmark for men and women, it seems very mixed. It's like the top 4 or 5 teams that have money are on one level. And then the bottom part of the league, is a bit different. And so the first division team that I'm coaching, like we're 1-1 against top league teams this year, and that's with a fraction of the budget. But so at the youth level, a lot of the same problems exist. It's like, okay, well, who's going to coach the kids? If you're trying to have extra practices or this, it costs money, and the funds aren't there. And I think. In Stockholm, it's very different in Sweden with the clubs that have big names that are also football names. There's no revenue sharing, from what I understand. So it's like if you're Aikoa or you're Hammarby or Djurgården, you have that name, which is cool, but you have to make your own. You have to make your own way. And it's like if you go to Spain,
it's not like the football gives to the basketball or something.
Exactly. Because
I know in AIK because. Okay. John passed there also, so I don't think we need to sell cookies and stuff like this.
Yeah, and it's and when you think about it, it's up to them. It's their business. It's their thing. But if you look at Spain, for example, Real Madrid and Barcelona are both very big basketball names in their own right, and they do turn a profit. But there's also a revenue sharing model because Madrid and Barcelona are even bigger names for football.
Yeah,
and so. Their basketball programs.
Malaga has a great basketball school, and Badalona has a great basketball team for youth. It's a youth, and they are not Real Madrid and Barcelona, So it's rooted in the culture, You go to Serbia, you go to Lithuania. How much is Lithuania? One and a half?
It's I think less, maybe 2 million.
I've been there.
Yeah,
I think
it's around 2 million people.
Everybody plays, and I went to see. Well, it's a big topic. We'll not get into it, but I think that at the end it's about starting from the really early age.
Yeah.
I went by chance to the Žalgiris basketball club, and I saw, I think 9 years or 10 years old boys practicing.
A little bit different.
They give them the ball, run 3-on-3, crazy, boom, 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 boom. You see the passion, you see, and it's a system, and it's something that started many years ago, not now, and everybody's following. I'm not saying every coach is coaching like the other, but there is a framework. There is a framework.
That's a good point, because with Chris, anytime that when we were traveling to a lot of different places, if we're in a place where basketball is still developing, so where their national teams are not really strong, like we're not going to go to Spain or Serbia or even France now and lecture people on anything. It's like they have their own style.
Yeah.
But in a lot of places we would go to, you can make a point by asking the question, what is Romanian basketball? What is Kosovo basketball? What is Tunisian? It's like, so you go to these places and
maybe you can give us some advices that will help them if they listen.
Yeah.
To shape it, because you're American. You're from
Well, and you ask that question, what is your identity in basketball? So it's like, if you ask that question to the Spanish Federation, they could tell you, this is how we play. This is how our teams play. And the same goes for like really good clubs. But if you go to national team federations, they can give you an exact breakdown of what their philosophy is, how they teach ball screens, how they teach ball screen defense, how they teach everything.
Yeah.
And in a good club, in my opinion, you would have, the leadership would say, okay, for all you youth players, what is your goal and your dream? If it's not NBA, it's to play for the men or the women's team for your club. So there should be a structure of, hey, youth player, this is what you have to do to be a senior player for this club. This is what you have to be good at. This is what you should be good at by this age. And so it would be a framework and a system where it's understood, where maybe if we're the under 15 team, maybe you don't do the exact, maybe you don't have the entire playbook of the men's top league team.
I give you an example, Justin. I know Coach Pini Gershon.
I don't think so.
Coach Pini Gershon is a legendary Israeli coach that won with Maccabi.
With Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Pini Gershon is stopped now. This year is stopped. He is the head of all the national team basketball. Is the GM of the Israeli, from short youth to the national team. And when he said, for example, he gave the clubs, he didn't tell them what to coach, but he said, I would like that, for example, because we Israelis are short, are not big, and we need to deal with with the bigger teams and stuff, let's play fast basketball. Every offense will be 7 seconds, then you drive and kick, and gives this to the club, and we play like this, and he gave them the framework.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, and the coaches can still it's like, you don't want to take the autonomy completely away from the coaches, but it's like you make everything easier when you say, this is our philosophy, this is the standard, and this is how we want to play basketball. And I can't, I'm not criticizing anybody, but I would argue that in a lot of smaller countries or countries that are not in the top tier of basketball, it's like they don't always have an identity from the top down. Yeah. So maybe they have some successful senior teams, but that the youth teams, there's not an understanding. And I think on the club level in Sweden, in Denmark, it's not so common to find an organization that has that structure where the kids know, this is the style of basketball we play here. This is what I have to do to get to the next level, when somebody starts to do that, they'll probably win a lot here.
So I get it. You have this organization head start, what we'll call get recruited.
Yeah, that's that's my thing since 2021. So
4 years.
yeah, it's been 4 years, and
Explain to me what's that exactly?
yeah. So get recruited I think the simplest way to put it is that it's a platform for talented players that want to do that want to play in college and that want to pursue scholarship opportunities in the U.S. Also, it's on in Canada, but yeah, for kids that want to be college basketball players, it's a platform that helps promote them and helps connect them with college coaches and help connect coaches with them. So,
Like a showcase.
yeah, exactly. So it's now
a showcase for musicians. You know this name in the music world. But
it's evolved though. I think I started it kind of during COVID, I guess, because the government here, I guess other than the top league for men and women, everything else was shut down. So there were no games. You could practice but not play games, and so that, and then also I noticed that there were some talented players on the youth national teams here, but that most of them, aside from maybe the best or second best players, were completely unknown to college coaches. There was not much exposure for them. Yeah. And as we said, there was a good level of talent, just no platform for them. Yeah. So I think that combined with
I think I would say good level of talent that can perform better in a better coaching environment or in different country where the basketball is more escalated.
Sure, and so they between those two things, and then from that season, all the kids that were playing even Superettan or Basketettan or U19 at a good level, they had no film. There would be no evidence of them playing basketball to even have a chance to get recruited. And so because all the games had been canceled.
Oh yeah, in the COVID.
So yes, and in Sweden it's not super common for you might have a teenager that has a roster spot in SBL, but for them to play minutes and to get real film is not so common. And so I had the idea came to me. I've helped with some college showcase events in America because they're extremely they're much more common. And so I had the idea. I was sitting in the office at Central, and I told told Victor, my friend, I said, "Hey man, I think I'm going to try to put on an event here."
Wow! And so you started it, but how logistically? How did you do it? How was the first time that it happened?
I think
you need to contact people in the US
to get and I mean I had a lot of contacts already just from my playing career and friends that are coaches now.
And others.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wanted to bring attention to the project, and so I did player rankings. So I contacted a bunch of coaches, watched a ton of film from previous years, and so I developed these. It's like top 25 players in the country for each generation. And in Sweden, the idea of ranking people is not. That is let's just
everybody is the same.
Yeah. So
everybody should play the same.
Yeah. So it was very opposite of the jantelag type of attitude, and so it ruffled a lot of feathers, but it also it got probably a couple thousand followers on social media. It started to catch people's attention
because good players want to go to college.
Well, yeah, and they want to compete.
They want to compete. They want to. This is what they do. They're good. Why they're good players? Because they practice and they are talented, but they give their life for the basketball. They want to do something better. Yeah, maybe.
So and so I started promoting the event, and the idea is that we're going to see how tall you are, we're going to see how agile you are. So there's like physical testing, education about the college basketball recruiting and eligibility, all those things, and then the part that the kids love, obviously, is the 5-on-5 games, and then I take that stream and college coaches that follow my thing and subscribe to get recruited, they can see that. And so then if they see somebody that catches their eye, they can say, hey, who's number 17, who's number 32, and then I have that information.
But it's more like you send to them, they're not coming here.
No, there's been a few over the years. There's been some coaches. There've been some coaches that come in person. But the idea is that from your phone or your laptop, you can see a lot of the best players in the country, because the kids have been on a lot of them have been on national teams, but that's only one generation, and so we're doing it's all the gymnasiet ages, and so it's the who's who.
What's the age that actually they start or they can go to college?
When they finish high school, yeah. So for
18?
most American kids, it's 18, and for most Swedish kids, they're 19 when they finish. So yeah, I would say 19. And but yeah, it's grown since then. The online presence is quite big. We have these really cool player profiles now that players can get for free, and it's like a basketball CV for them. And then the coaches can see it on our website.
What they can get for free? The profile.
Yeah, so we have these.
But I guess. To participate in this, there is some kind of.
The Swedish showcase is you have to apply to be able to come, and you have to be selected to come because I started here and it's the most well known here. There's hundreds of applications, but only 36
So
spots.
first you observe it and decide.
Yeah,
you and your crew.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to. There's certain kids that I know already, and that they've been national team players for a couple of years, or they've played at a good level, and I'm familiar with them. But everybody has to submit highlights or game film, and so there's a lot of film watching that goes into that. But so whenever we select the ones that are coming, then there is I always want to keep it kind of at or under 100 euros, but they get jersey, food, and then they have access to the photos and the film from the event. So it's cheaper than anything you could ever do that in America.
But where do you do it? For example, in Stockholm?
It's been in Stockholm the last all 4 years, but now this year will be in Norrköping at the Stadium Arena. But it started off.
What I thought, if it goes well, maybe with time, maybe from other countries also.
Well, it's funny that you should say that. We're in 4 now, so it'll be this year is Dublin, Ireland, Riga, Latvia, Norrköping, Sweden, and Copenhagen, Denmark. So it's grown. It's grown a good bit. So it's now. I want it to be I want it to almost be like a musician going on tour. Like a band T-shirt where they have all the stops. I want it to eventually be like that. But so now it's up to 4, and I think 60. We're in the 60s as far as the number of kids that have been directly helped that have gotten scholarships as a result of Get Recruited.
I see.
Yeah, and then there's some others, where they didn't really need as much help, but it also has kind of developed a reputation for being where the best players come and play against each other. So Bobby Klintman's played in it, Tilde Trygga's played in it, and so it's not necessarily like, hey, no one knew about those kids before me. It's not like that, but they've come and played at a high level. So
but the guys that know you in the US that started to develop, they know there is this showcase, and there they are able to see the guys from Sweden or from Nordic countries or something else.
Well, and it puts me in it's a cool spot to be in, just because nationality is not everything. But when I'm talking to coaches, they understand that I understand the differences in the college levels. And they also they know that I understand the European side of things, and so it's I would think it's a source that they can trust when it comes to evaluations.
Can help to match also.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people over here. Every year more and more people want to get into the college thing, and it's like, well,
not everybody can.
Right, and so it's like you might be talking to somebody that they're pushing the kid because they see some money in it for them, or maybe they just don't know the difference between the levels. And so I think because I'm American and because I come from that background, but I've also spent a lot of time in Europe, it's a good mix of understanding on both sides.
I see. Justin, 2 questions.
Okay.
They are our last questions.
Okay.
But they are really interested for me. One is like, you see so many kids and in Get Recruited and others. And me personally, I'm always interested in the basketball, of course, and the talent, but I'm interested also about behind the scene, about let's say
beyond the court.
Beyond the court,
Yeah.
Well, why beyond the court? When it came from, it's not beyond the court, but actually a few years ago, I think 2 years ago in the playoff, NBA, Eric Spoelstra, Miami against Denver.
Yeah.
Denver is the favorite like this,
yeah.
And Miami give them a hell of a fight. After one of the losses, I think they asked Spoelstra, how do your guys is playing like crazy. He said there is the court that it's in our mind. There is not just the court of the basketball.
Yeah.
And that was so inspiring to listen. So I see and I follow NBA, EuroLeague, youth, and I see guys that, you know, they are small and they are stars. Guys that before nobody gave them a chance and now they are great. I mean, I know there is not a one answer. It's a big topic. It's complicated. But what do you think is the important mental values, important mental side for a basketball player that is succeeding?
I think if you
I know it's hard to answer because everybody came from a different background and a different whatever, you know.
I think you can narrow it down to a few common traits or a few common characteristics when it comes to your mental side of things. And it's, you know, first of all, if every person that was talented, you know, if every one of them made it, there would be no spots. There would be no reason to play.
Exactly.
There's immensely talented people that don't have the mental side, and so they don't last, or they don't ever reach their potential. And so I think whether you're super talented or if you're trying to make your way and maybe you're an underdog type of player.
By the way, you hear stories like crazy. I don't know, NBA stars that, I don't know, their parents were like this, so they were in the street, or Allen Iverson, I don't know, Jimmy Butler, I just heard. I mean, crazy stories. And
there's, I would say, being resilient and being perseverant. Those are two qualities that almost.
What is the word perseverance? Sorry.
Like that you keep going through adversity. And you have to be. You know, I'm kind of I would say my example is kind of in the middle, because I didn't, you know, it's not like I was living in the street or anything like that, but it's like I
have to. Yeah. I mean, this is awkward.
But it's
examples.
But I had the, you know, like I said, a little bit of a late start by American standards.
Yeah.
And it's you know, if you hear no and it makes you stop, or if you hit some adversity and it makes you stop, then it's not going to be for you. Because there's very few people outside of maybe LeBron James or someone like that. There's very few people where the path to success is completely linear. So it's like if your dream or your goal is gonna be deferred at some time off of that straight line. And just because it's deferred, it's not necessarily denied. So it doesn't mean that it's over for you. But you have to find a way to keep going, and almost where you're not going to take failure, you know, as an option. You're not going to take no for an answer. So you have to be realistic.
You have to be a bit crazy.
Yeah. You have
not
to.
Not like Michael Jordan. Not go to the severe of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And by the way, LeBron, with all his talent and his physicality, has a crazy strong state of mind.
Yeah. To be under that type of spotlight since you're a kid, and to go and do everything that you said you were going to do, or everything that the media said you were going to do. It's that type of. So it's even from his perspective, but for whether you're a youth player or whatever, you have to have. You know, you have to make some sacrifices. So it's like you're probably not going to be the kid that gets to go do all the social stuff. And you're not going to be able.
Most of them will go through this.
Yeah, and you have to decide, and it's like I've told a lot of youth players, like, hey, like I'm still gonna love you, like I'm still gonna, you know, like you as a person, but you have to decide if this is for you or not. And it's like you can still be a great person and only play for fun. But that's
and do other stuff, coaching even.
Yeah. You can be multi-talented, but it's like if basketball does not come first, and that's controversial to a lot of people, anyways. What do you mean basketball first? What about your this? And it's like, well, if it is not your first, second, and third concern, it's like, well, eventually the ball's going to stop bouncing for everybody. But if you don't take it seriously and treat it like a job, then your ball is going to stop bouncing earlier than the ones that take it seriously, usually. And so I think, just being different in your approach, where you even if you're, you know, playing some low league, you know, trying to work your way up, you won't get out of that unless you treat it like it's the NBA Finals. You know, you have to.
Yeah, I get it. So if we speak already about the NCAA, there is some interesting evolution
Oh, yeah.
in NCAA,
Oh, yeah.
very economically mainly. So I know that because my friend Edgaras that worked a lot with, I don't know if you know Krivas from Arizona, the center.
Yeah.
He worked with him years. He said to me in his Lithuanian accent, he was getting like $1 million
Yeah.
contract, and
Yeah.
there was, I mean, well, I don't know if to see it as a positive. We have Omer Meyer from Maccabi.
Yeah.
He just signed with Purdue.
Yeah.
Purdue, and they say he will get 50 times more because he's a soldier now. And he's getting a soldier's salary. What do you think about that? What's your perspective? It's good. It's bad.
I would like to see it regulated a bit, and that's kind of an unpopular opinion. So I think like when I was in college, you could get in trouble.
Can it ruin?
It can.
Guys, 18 years old.
It can. Well, and now, and I get to be involved with it with the Get Recruited stuff. But it's like when I was in college, if you signed an autograph and sold it, your autograph, you could get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
And so now it's evolved to where players can be paid. And so I think when they first made that ruling, in most people's minds, it was that if you're playing in college, you can use your name and likeness to make some extra money. So like if a local air conditioning company or a local bakery wants to use you for a commercial or to use you to boost some sales, they can pay you for that. And because you've made a name for yourself in basketball, you can make a few $1,000s. And of course, in America, with sports is such big money anyways. They've allowed it now where they have these NIL collectives. Every big school has one.
Yeah.
So they can get money from anywhere, from businesses, from donors, from boosters. And so now it's not just about like, oh, we want to use your name, image, and likeness. It's here's $500,000, come play for us. Like players like him, he's very, that's our best recruiter.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now that's kind of diminished, and it's like if you're a good recruiter, it probably coincides with the amount of money you're able to give, because the players really only care about that.
Yeah.
And so I would say with Get Recruited, I'm not. There's very very few players in general in the world that are that level, and so anything below that, even if it's Division I, there's some Division I teams that don't have any NIL money to give, but a lot of European agents are very eager. In the old days, they didn't want the best players to go to college because they won't get paid.
Yeah.
And so if they stay in Europe or they stay overseas, the agent gets 10%.
Yeah.
NIL contracts, the standard rate is 20%. So they're very eager to push them to the US now. So.
I understand. Well, Justin, it was really really fun.
Man, it was a good time
to have you here.
Yeah.
And good luck with Get Recruited. Good luck in Denmark.
Thank you.
Whatever you do. And please, guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, to the On the Court, and all the best. Thank you.